This is American Ground Radio. I'm Stephen Parr with Louis R. Avalone.
You know, what was the great state of Louisiana now ranks near the bottom of every key category. Healthcare, we're 46th. Education, 48th.
48th? We've moved up one.
Economy, 47th. Infrastructure, 47th. Opportunity, 48th.
Wait, we're 47th in infrastructure? I drive... There's a video going around like how you know you've crossed Texas into Louisiana and he's playing Phil Collins in the air at night and the drum solo that's right as you cross the border.
I'm sorry, I'm not amused.
You're not amused?
I'm not amused
It's
whatsoever.
hilarious.
No, this is very important.
Okay.
Crime.
Yes.
Louisiana is 50th. Okay?
Wow. But a lot of that's because of New Orleans. New Orleans,
fair enough.
New Orleans outweighs most of the rest of the state.
But you have people that are leaving this state because in all of these categories, Louisiana ranks near the bottom.
Yes.
You've got out-migration. It's been a problem for many years.
And you know what state ranks near the top in almost all of those categories? Texas. It's right next door.
You don't have to rub it in.
I'm just saying, you
don't
just
have to
go
rub
right
it
next
in.
door.
I understand.
That's why people are leaving. It's easy.
But see, it's difficult for states to pay down their debts. It results in higher taxes. Fewer investments are attracted to states that are in decline.
Right.
And
just ask folks in California.
Well, and here's the thing. What ends up happening is those that are leaving a state, for example, the folks that are left behind, they have to pick up the tab.
Right.
They have to pay higher taxes.
Yes.
And if you don't have a leader, that is focused on what is most important, which I believe out-migration in many of these states is, in fact, but you've got to take care of what government's responsibility is to the people, and that is to make sure that you have a well-run state.
Well, the job of government.
Low taxes.
This is
a
where
good business environment.
This is where people get it wrong. The job of government, the only job of government, is to secure the rights of the people to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. When government starts to try and do things that aren't about balancing the rights of individual people, government starts doing things it wasn't designed to do and it shouldn't be trying to do.
But when government starts focusing on what's insignificant, you take your eye off the ball and you start paying attention to things that ultimately do not make a difference in the vast majority of the lives of the people in your particular state.
Okay.
So I bring all of this up because despite the fact that in all of these key areas, Louisiana is not winning, our governor, a conservative Democrat governor. I say that's very tongue-in-cheek
that's
because
an oxymoron.
That's a complete oxymoron.
Right.
He vetoed. He vetoed. Just give folks a little background. He vetoed a bill that would have banned transgender athletes from competing in sports consistent with their gender identity.
And the reason why this is important is because if you want to be inspiring the next generation of girls to try and achieve the best they can, because you get a lot out of sports that don't have to do with just the skill of the sport. There's a lot more to it. And it's been a good thing for boys for generations. It's a good thing for girls, too. And the more girls we get involved in sports, I think the better the country is.
All right, so there was a bill that it did pass in the Louisiana legislature. The governor vetoed that bill.
Right.
And today, they held their first ever veto override session since Louisiana adopted the new constitution, its new constitution in 1974. And they came together. There's 28 other bills that this Republican-dominated state legislature intended to override the governor's veto on.
And the Republicans had a veto-proof majority. They had 2/3 of the Senate.
Well,
they only passed one bill out of the Senate. That was the transgender sports bill. Every other bill, the gun bill, the concealed carry bill, that died in the Republican-dominated Senate because of one Republican.
Well, see, Republicans today failed to get the number of votes needed to override a veto. So now...
In the House.
In the House.
Oh,
in the House. Yeah, absolutely.
They had it in the Senate. They lost it in the House today because they couldn't get 2 Democrats to join in.
So now... it is legal in Louisiana for men to compete with women.
It's still legal. Okay. It was legal ahead of time.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But the point is that what's the real reason that the governor vetoed that bill in the first place?
Because he wanted to virtue signal to the left.
Do you think that's what it is?
Absolutely.
What about the fact that the NCAA
Mm-hmm.
made a phone call to the governor of Louisiana and
Sure.
said that, look, we may not hold our Final Four tournament,
Mm-hmm.
the NCAA Final Four tournament, in New Orleans ever
Sure,
again.
But why would the NCAA want him to do that? Because they're
they're woke.
They're virtue signaling. So he's got to virtue signal to the NCAA. It's virtue signaling. He's got to show that he's on the, quote, right side of history.
But see, more than 30 other states are considering the same type of legislation that would ban boys and men who identify as female from participating in girls' and women's sports.
And several states have already done it.
But see, when boys compete in girls' sports, they win. They win most often because they have a natural advantage. That crushes the motivation of biological girls who have worked hard to compete on a level playing field, only to have to enter into these competitions knowing that they can never win.
Go look at the Connecticut high school track records for the last 4 years. The vast majority of those high school state races were won by two boys who both said they were girls.
But see, folks don't understand. And a lot of folks say, well, I thought Louisiana was a red state. Maybe if you are listening to us right now from what you consider to be your red state.
We got some blue state listeners too, but yeah.
But here's the other part of that.
Yeah.
Just because someone claims to be a Republican does not mean that they embrace conservative values.
How can you be a Republican and not be in favor of the Second Amendment? How can you claim to be a Republican and a conservative and not be in favor of the Second Amendment, which says Congress shall pass no law prohibiting people to the right to bear arms? Yet we have a Republican in the Senate in the state of Louisiana who banned people from being able to bear arms without getting special permission and signing on the dotted line and paying a fee and all that.
And
it's an infringement on the Second Amendment.
Absolutely. And look, it's not that Republicans in Louisiana didn't come together. They've got a conservative caucus that did hold itself together. But it's far better to elect a conservative, a Republican governor, than 100 Republican legislators.
Right. One governor, because again, they had 66% of the Senate vote for these things, and one Republican stopped it. Whereas if we had had a Republican governor, these bills wouldn't have been vetoed in the first place.
And I think the stakes are too high for us just to look at someone's party just because they have an R behind their name, because they may just be paying lip service to actual conservatism and not actually believe in their heart and support, when push comes to shove, those conservative principles that made this country what it is today.
You have to elect Republicans who won't let power cause brain damage, because they'll know they don't deserve the power they have. Let's get to the top 3 things you need to know before tomorrow. Well, Nancy Pelosi denied 2 Republicans the right to serve on a supposedly bipartisan commission looking into what happened at the Capitol on January 6th. The 2 Republicans blocked from serving on the committee are Jim Jordan from Ohio and Jim Banks from Indiana. In response, Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy said he would pull all the Republicans from that committee.
Well, absolutely. I mean, if you can't have Jim Jordan,
right?
Because why? Because he would be vocal, because he would be articulate, because he might push back on this narrative that the Democrats want to push over on all of us.
Again, the Democrats are not in favor of free speech. Nancy Pelosi didn't want Jim Jordan and Jim Banks on that commission because of things they have said in the past, not things they have done in the past, things they have said in the past. That is a violation of the First Amendment. Second thing you need to know before tomorrow, conservative radio host Larry Elder is suing the state of California after the Secretary of State left him off the ballot for the recall election of Governor Gavin Newsom. Secretary of State Shirley Weber, a Democrat, left Elder off the ballot because she says he failed to include 5 years of income tax returns with his paperwork. Elder says he did file those tax returns and included more than 300 pages of tax documents with his application.
Again, here we see again, Democrats censoring, canceling conservative thought.
And creating one set of rules for Republicans and a different set of rules for Democrats. Gavin Newsom was not required to put in his tax returns Larry Elder was.
And for all you Democrats listening right now, is it just winning at any cost?
Yes.
I mean, it's worth it?
Yes, that's what it's Machiavellian.
That's just
the ends justify the means to
ridiculous.
folks on the left. For the third thing you need to know before tomorrow, 2 new laws in Arkansas are being put on hold by the courts. U.S. District Judge Christine Baker issued an injunction against the state's new abortion law, which would have banned all abortions except for cases to save the life of the mother. Judge Baker says the law was, quote, categorically unconstitutional. In a separate case, U.S. District Judge Jay Moody blocked a new law which would have prevented physicians in the state of Arkansas from giving transgender treatments to minors in the state. Judge Moody issued a temporary injunction against the law as a lawsuit filed by the ACLU works its way through the courts.
Again, why is it important? Why is it important for the state to allow the castration of our youth?
I don't know. I can't defend it. I don't think anybody can.
Well, the court obviously did.